Welcome to the first ever Birdie Train podcast. The Masters is coming up next weekend, so we thought we could quickly go through the betting and pick out who we think is good value. Without further ado, let's bloody go through the Excel sheet. I can't be bothered to do this anymore. Right, so we're just going to go through the odds for the top 20 players in the field. As you can see, we've made a lovely Excel sheet. Look at that beauty. Oh, fucking hell, that was cringe.
8-1.
Right, yeah. So, all the odds in this column, world ranking in this column, and then form for the last 5 weeks, Masters form for the last 3 years, their last 3 years of playing, I should say, and then 2020, so last year's strokes gained off the tee approach around the green and putting. So we'll start from the top. Bryson 8-1. He's coming off the US Open win, but as you can see, his form. I mean,
no form at the Masters at all. 29th, 38th, 21st. I mean, apparently, I saw today he's played a practice round and he had 8 iron into the second on the par 5. He drove the green out the back with a 3-wood, but you can see from Tiger last year when he won, you don't have to overpower the golf course. Yeah, it is in November. It is winter. It's going to be playing slightly longer, but I think he's probably going to find himself behind those pines, in the pine straws and behind the trees a little bit more often than he thinks. I don't think his game is going to match up to what Augusta is going to test. I'd much rather be on DJ at 12s or Rahm at 10s. I think 8-1 it's trying to suck people in who don't normally have a bet. And obviously there's a lot of hype around his 400-yard carry and all that kind of thing at the moment. So I think 8-1's a bit of a no price for him. So I'd want something around 14s if I was going to even think about backing him this week.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And also is putting at Augusta, you're not allowed to use Greensbook. And obviously,
are you not?
No, you're not. So obviously he's like not very natural in the way he works his game and stuff. Yeah. So and his putting statistics at Augusta have not been good. Obviously, he ranks 10 throughout the whole PGA Tour for putting, 10th. So I don't think his putting is going to be. He's going to be able to rely on his putting as much. And obviously, you've got to be like if you get into the wrong place, if you miss on the wrong side in the greens, you can have like double turner, uphill, downhill putt. So his approach play does worry me as well. So yeah, I'll definitely be avoiding Bryson 8s.
Yeah, that Greenbook thing as well. That's quite a big factor. Like even if you watch him over a 4-foot putt, he's spending about 5 minutes looking at his Greenbook beforehand. So
exactly, yeah.
That could actually be quite a big deal. Think about it now.
Yeah. I saw that the other day. I was like, what?
Yeah, I quite like that. To be fair.
Nice little bit of insider.
Yeah, it's good info that.
Rahm at 10s. Personally, I think Jon Rahm. If we're looking at it from like just hypothetical point of view, I think my favourites would be Rahm and DJ.
Yeah, I mean,
2 favourites.
I'm looking. I know we're sort of covering them all in a bit, but Brooks at 20. The way he's played this week in Texas, he had a bad first round, but he's come back with 2 pretty solid rounds. He started quite well today by the looks of things as well. On Sunday, I'd probably have those 3 as my favourites. You tend not to back against Brooks in a major.
You'd have Brooks ahead of Thomas.
I'd have Brooks ahead of Thomas, yeah.
And Bryson.
I'd have him ahead of both. He's in a major. He very rarely lets you that. He's like the PGA earlier on in the year when Colin won. He didn't look like he didn't even play well, but he still had a chance going into Sunday, and he was favourite until the back 9. Really, he just turns up for majors and he beats half the field, as he says, in the head before he's even teed off. So, and I
think he's beating you in the head by saying that, Kev.
Yeah, probably. Take my money, that's for sure. But he should have won last year as well when Tiger won. Like he bottled it by putting a few of them did, putting in the water on 12. But
did
him
he put it in the water on 12 as well?
Yeah, Finau, him. Molinari, and I think Poulter did as well. I think it was all four of them. And Woods just stuck in the middle of the green and walked away with it from that point. But yeah, I think Brooks this week, I think he's going to be not the one to beat, but I'd be very surprised he wasn't there come Sunday.
I worry about how sustainable it is to continue to just play your best golf in majors. Personally, I
agree with that, but he's done it for nearly 3 or 4 years now. So it gets to a stage where you just have to accept that's what he does.
This probably has been his worst year outside of the majors, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's been injured, so it's not. Yeah, he's been injured, but
that's not a good thing, though.
No, it's not. But he's come straight into the PGA. He's played one major this year, and he was favourite the whole way through the tournament until the back nine Sunday when Morikawa just went away with it. So yeah, again, he's played one major this year and looked like he was going to win it. So, and obviously he was injured for the US Open, didn't play in that. He's looked pretty good this week, in all honesty. I think for a PGA Tour event for him as well. 3 under, what is he? 3 under right now. He's on a par 5. So as we speak, so he might get to 4. Could come in with the top 5 before going to a major, and at 22 to 1, I think you can get somewhere else. I think you can get that with William Hill. I think that's a pretty strong price on someone like Brooks.
Yeah, we should say that these odds are all Bet365 as of Saturday before the Masters. So these, obviously you can get different odds with different bookies, and they are suspect to change. Let's go back to the start. Rahm,
yeah,
off the tee, he's an absolute monster, and he's playing pretty much as well as anyone at the moment. And then he's also had the 2 top 10s in his last 2 Masters starts. He's got a good short game. His approaches slightly worry me. But I think, yeah, as I said, Rahm and DJ would definitely be my 2 favourites. I think Rahm's pretty fairly priced. And then I think DJ is a great bit of value. If you look at the numbers here, there's no one comparing to DJ here. I'm so surprised that he's 12 to 1. I thought he would be the Bryson at 8 to 1, personally.
Yeah. I mean, going back to Rahm, I think the thing with him is coming for a major, so he's due. He's going to win in the next year, you'd imagine. It's just a matter of time. He's there constantly. And as soon as he wins one major, he will win quite a lot, I think. So he should be favourite going into this week, in my opinion. I think 10 to 1 is short again, but probably just about right for him. Yeah, I think he's probably my favourite going into the week. Whether I'll be tipping and backing him is another story at 10 to 1, but yeah, I think he's probably a favourite going into this week.
Yeah. So we haven't spoken about JT and McIlroy. Thomas, so it's being played in November rather than April. I think it's either going to be a bit colder or it's going to be wet. So I think either way, it's going to be...
The weather suggests it's going to be raining from Thursday to Sunday. So
yeah, I think it's going to be raining, which is going to make the course play longer. But make it a bit of a... It normally never... I can't remember it raining at Augusta, really.
No, I can't.
It very rarely rains there.
Memory, anyway.
So the course will play slightly differently. The greens probably won't be as quick, which should probably help people like Rory, like Thomas, who aren't such good putters.
Yeah.
However, Thomas, he's good off the tee in terms of strokes gained, but he isn't quite as long as Bryson, Rahm, and McIlroy and DJ. So that could maybe work against him.
Yeah, again, as I said about Bright, I don't know. Yes, it's going to play longer, but I wouldn't get too caught up on length this week. I think everyone's long enough. Like Thomas is long enough to win. Yeah, it's going to play longer than it normally does, but it's not like it's going to be like playing your local golf course where it's fairways can have ponds in the middle of them. You know, it's Augusta. They're going to try them out, so it's going to play longer, but it's not going to be the longest test they'll face this season. So I think as long as you can hit the ball over 300 yards, 310 yards, you'll have fairly short irons in most holes. So I don't think ultra length is the main play this week. Thomas is long enough to win. Whether I think he'll win, I'm not sure. He hasn't got the greatest records at Augusta. he's looked good recently. Obviously, a second last time out, where he probably should have gone on to win. But yeah, out of all of them, I'd probably say Thomas and Rory out of the main favourites are the weakest. The weakest for me. Rory, it's a frustrating one. He's gonna win at Augusta in his career. You just know he is, because he does have quite a good record there. But right now, I'd be shocked if Rory came out and won this week, to be honest.
The thing with Rory is he's spoken quite he's spoken a lot about the motivation with no fans being there.
Yeah.
And I think as much as that could have impacted him, I think this week that might not be. This is the only major he hasn't won. The motivation, he doesn't need to be motivated by fans. So I think he could win.
It will help him, no fans this week, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think it will help,
exactly.
because every time as soon as he turns up at Augusta, it's everyone asking him, going for the Grand Slam, going for the Grand Slam. There's not as much fanfare around it this week. Obviously, it's a Masters and everyone's excited about it, but there's not as much fanfare as there normally is going into it. So I think that will help him. And I haven't seen the sort of news articles you normally see. Will Rory do it this year? Obviously, people will be saying that if he's got a chance going into the weekend, but there's not as much as there is now, and he usually throws it away either on Thursday or Friday with a 6 over or something like that in there. So if he can avoid that, then he has got a chance. But I just would be shocked if he came out and won. I just don't think he's playing consistent enough golf over 4 days to win it this time. Yeah.
I don't think he's great value at 12s, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go close. Personally,
yeah, no,
I'd definitely be betting him if he was 16 or 18 to 1, I reckon.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time he got 16 or 18 to 1 on Rory though, even if he was playing shockingly.
I think DJ, like if we're looking at DJs, you're not going to take both DJ and Rory probably,
no.
Or Thomas, and I'd rather DJ to Rory at that price. Although I think one of those Bryson, Rahm, Thomas, McIlroy, DJ wins. Or possibly Brooks, as you said.
With that. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, obviously, it's never been played in November, so you don't know how the course is going to react. It could throw up a surprise winner.
In 2007,
I'd be surprised if it wasn't one of those sort of top 8, probably.
Yeah, sure. In 2007, it was like cold, quite windy. And that's when Zach Johnson won. And
is he playing this week? What price?
Zach Johnson will be playing this week. I do not know what price Zach Johnson is. But in 2007, let me just quickly read out the leaderboard to you. So the winning score was 1 over par. And you had Retief Goosen, Rory Sabatini, Woods, Jerry Kelly, Justin Rose, Appleby, Harrington, Casey, Toms, Donald, Taylor, Vaughan Taylor. So, I mean, if it plays similar to that, like...
Not the sexiest leaderboard in the world, is that?
Exactly. So, I feel like you do sort of need to diversify slightly away from the boys who hit at Mars at the top.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be seeing 1 over par winner this week, though. I think it will still be somewhere near around 10 under.
Yeah.
If the wind blows, then maybe, but I don't think the cold, and obviously that was 2007, they were hit about 70 yards further than they did back then. So
I thought that.
I could be wrong, hasn't got that much longer. But
yeah, I thought that. I was like, well, everyone was short back then. But then I looked at driving distance for 2007 versus last year, and it was like average driving distance only increased by like 5 yards.
Really?
Yeah.
I think Bryson would have something to say about that.
Yeah, obviously now the Bryson started hitting at Mars, that's probably going to increase it quite a lot more. Anyway, so that's top 5. We haven't spoken about Xander at all.
I mean, at 14 to 1, to be honest.
Sorry?
Probably rightly so at 14 to 1. I think that's a bit of a shocking price.
Yeah, I just think at 14 to 1, I want to be betting on someone who I've seen do it before. He's only won 3 times.
we talked about this the other day as well. Like Xander, he's not in that level with the ones above him. He's not on the level of Brooks. You know, he's in the level of a Cantlay, a Morikawa, or a Simpson, and then you look down the leaderboard where Webb is, where Morikawa is, even where Cantlay is as well. And the price is 14 to 1. Then you could have Cantlay at 25s. You could have Webb at 30s, Morikawa at 33s. Even Scott at 35s, Tiger at 35s. That's 14s on him. He's a good player. He came second last year, but again, I think that's a bit of a nothing price, to be honest.
Yeah, I just don't think all the equity's there for Xander. Like, I think he's good. He's just a solid player. Like, I don't think he'll miss the cut or anything. He might. He's been putting really well recently, which worries me as well. Like, I think I saw a stat that, like, before his finish, his last event where he didn't do so well, it was like his 3 best weeks putting of his career. So that's obviously he's not going to keep that up forever. So that does worry me slightly. But yeah, I just haven't seen him do it, so I'm not going to back him at 14 to 1.
I think he will have some backers though this week, and I think he'll probably be that person on Sunday who will look like he'll have a chance, but whether he gets it done is another question, really. I mean, I think I saw something, he's had a lot of chances to win recently, or not recently, over the last couple of years, and he doesn't always get it done. He's a bit like that. In a major, I'm not sure right now. He'll certainly win a major in his career, but right now, this week, I'm not convinced that 14's at all. No,
agree on that one for sure. We've touched on Brooks. I'm looking at Bet365 now. He's now 18 to 1. So that 20 is probably no longer available.
I think he's an auto bet in just any major now. I think it's got to that stage where, you say, can you sustain that? But he sustained it since he won his first. Was it US Open or USPGA? I can't remember one he won first, but ever since he won his first one, he's constantly been there, knocking on the door to win again. And he is that kind of just personality where he can't get up for these small events when he's playing a Texas Open, but as soon as there's a Masters or there's a US Open or Open, he's the front runner for me, really. I mean, outside of Rahm and DJ, I think he's my third favourite this week, as I kind of already said. And I think 18 to 1 is it now? I think you'd probably be able to get 20 somewhere, but I think that is a massive price and probably the value out there for me right now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'd say so.
I don't know. I guess that's where we differ. I don't quite buy into the Brooks hype as much as you. And would I be annoyed at missing out on Brooks at 18 to 1? I'm not sure. I guess, yeah. It's a very obvious bet. Brooks in a major, isn't it?
For me now, I get annoyed if I don't back him in a major because he's just always there. As I said, it's an auto bet for me now. Any major, any price. I don't care what form he's in. Like, you look earlier this year, he was in no form at all. Going into that WGC, he threw that away as well. Gave it to Thomas. Then going into the USPGA, I think he was 10 to 1 going into that, and before the WGC, he was a much bigger price. So
his 30s, yeah.
It was something ridiculous like that, I think. So, yeah, I just think Brooks, when it comes to big tournaments, he does turn up. Obviously, he's not going to win every time. He's not going to turn up every time, but I think he gives you at 20 to 1 when it was then. I think that's a massive price and gives you a great chance at some big value to definitely give yourself a chance going into the weekend.
Yeah, and I guess it's someone who you're not worried about bottling it as well, such as some people that are about to get into.
Absolutely. He's a sort of person as well who could be 5 to 1 favourite after Thursday if he shoots 6 under or 5 under or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you've missed a massive price then, and you won't get that price for the rest of the week. So that's why I'd be backing that at 20s, definitely.
Okay. Cantlay, 25 to 1.
Yeah.
Bit of a gap.
This is where you get to a bit more of a lottery pick, but I think Cantlay, he was really impressive when he won last time out, taking on Thomas, and I can't remember who the other player was. He was up there as well that week, but Rahm as well, wasn't it? I think. Was it Rahm? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was really impressive. He kind of, I think he made one bogey a week. And
he's really solid. Really solid.
He was just solid. He was just constantly had 15 foot for birdie. He usually is a good putter and just took his chances. He looked clinical and obviously did well there at Augusta last year. I mean, where did it say? Finished ninth, was it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he certainly was leading with 3 holes to play or something. I know he's a few holes ahead of Tiger, but he was certainly leading in the back 9 at some point. So I think that's quite a big price on him. I think out of all the ones we're probably going to cover, 25 on Cantlay, I think he'll definitely be there because he's just a solid player. He seems to have picked up a little bit better form now. So I think 25 to 1's a pretty fair price.
Yeah, he was one of the players. Pretty much everyone apart from Rory has won since the restart. And Cantlay was sort of coming. He was making all the cuts, but he was finishing no better than 20th every week. And all of a sudden, he had a top 10 3 weeks ago. Then an average week. And sorry, that top 10 he was leading going into the final round. Just had a bad final round. And then obviously, as you said 2 weeks ago, where he won, and he would beat both Thomas. Yeah, I think was he 3 back of Thomas and Rahm going into the final round?
I think so. It was very much a 2-horse race between Thomas and Rahm, and then Cantlay just stuck with him the whole way and didn't give in. And to be fair, Rahm and Thomas, they looked like they'd forgotten how to win ridiculously. They were literally just between those two, and Cantlay just made a few birdies coming in. He didn't do anything that spectacular, really. Was not giving it, but he was just solid throughout the whole week, and I think solid might be what you're looking for this week. So.
Yeah, that's true. I just worry that that's only the 3rd win of his career, I think.
Yeah.
Like, is he likely to go back to back?
I know what you mean, but I do think he's a major champion. So,
yeah,
you know, and I think he is very much one of those where the lockdown and sort of when golf stopped, it came at a very bad time for him. Because the back end of last year, I kind of said to him for the Masters when we all thought it was going to be in April, and I haven't changed my opinion. I changed it when we sort of came back from lockdown because he looked a completely different player, but recently he's looked back to sort of the old Cantlay, and what my worry is, come Sunday, back 9, if I was on him, I'd be very concerned he'd be putting into Race Creek or something off back 9, to be honest.
Right. Patrick Reed, Tyrrell Hatton, Bubba Watson, all at 28 to 1. Favourite out of those 3, I think. I mean, if you look at the world rankings, Bubba Watson is way down compared to anyone in this range.
Yeah. I thought Bubba Watson was going to be a bit of value this week, and 28 to 1 is ridiculous.
I mean, if you look at
he loves Augusta, he loves it, but
even in the last 2 years, he's finished 12th and 5th, which is pretty outstanding. And then he won it in 2012 and 2014.
He does love it, but maybe in each way, I don't know, on someone if that's how you like to bet. But 28 to 1, I can't see him winning this week at all, if I'm honest.
His putting has just been dreadful recently.
I mean, the favourite out of those 3 you mentioned is Hatton. I mean, Hatton.
I'm not sure. I think Patrick Reed is at 28 to 1 might be a decent bet. If he's quietly gone 14th, 3rd, 13th, 7th in his last 4 starts.
No, I get it.
And he obviously won here 2 years ago.
Hatton for me has been the inform, probably outside of DJ and probably Bryson. For me, the way he's been playing, I mean, the last 3 times, he looked almost like he should win. I know he had 28th, was it? But I think he chucked that away as well. He just had a bad couple of rounds, obviously jet lag coming over from England. But I think Hatton's probably one of the top 5 informed players in the world right now. I mean, 28 to 1, I wouldn't personally be backing him, but I don't think any of those 3 are very good prices at 28 to 1. If I'm honest.
Reed definitely does interest me, for sure, because he's got a good all-round game, and he's obviously won here before, and there's multiple repeat winners here. So
when I look at that, I see those 3 at 28, and then we just go a couple more down to Webber, Morikawa at 30s and 33s. I just think, Webber Morikawa for me, I think they're outside of, obviously I mentioned Brooks at his price, but for Webb and Morikawa, I think those two are the sort of stand-up prices that you go, why are they that price? Because Webb.
Who would you rather?
I can't see Morikawa winning 2 majors inside the same year, so probably Webb, but I'd probably 30s and 33s. I think I might be backing both of them before the off because they're both 2 very solid players. Especially Webb, I couldn't see him not
being there or thereabouts.
I can't see him not being there. I think what's his form like at the sort of Masters? Yeah, was it 5th last time out?
Yeah,
he clearly does like it there. Obviously, a 20th before. I'd be very surprised if Webb wasn't somewhere there or thereabouts come Sunday. Whether he goes on to win would be a different question, but I think 30s to give yourself a chance going into Sunday is something that you'd rather be on than not. I think that's the price you'd be annoyed at if you missed one of those 2.
Yeah, and as we sort of mentioned earlier, by the way, I'd take Webb over Morikawa as well. As we mentioned earlier, a lot of these guys smack it miles, but Webb isn't that sort of player, and he's able to make a good score from, saving. His scrambling numbers are good, his putting is good. He's that sort of. So you've got your bombers, and then you've got your sort of Morikawa's, Webb sort of players who aren't that long, but are going to get up and, well, Morikawa not necessarily, but Webb is going to get up and down if it's playing difficult and it's a bit windy.
Yeah,
he's that alternative player that could definitely give you a good chance. So I think if you're making up a card, I think Webb is just such a good player to have in it because he just gives you that alternative shot.
Definitely. Again, I've said it quite before, but when you look at the prices below, you look at Finau, Hideki, Scott, the 2 above them, Webb and Morikawa, they're proven winners this year on tour. They're multiple winners. Webb for me earlier, probably about 2 months ago, was the informed player in the world. So, and I don't think you'd have got 30s when he was sort of one of the RBC and looked like winning quite a few when he sort of came back from lockdown. So I think Webb and Morikawa, I think they're probably the value outside of Brooks.
Just look at Webb. I disagree with Morikawa. He's just not playing that well at the moment, and he won the PGA after putting look how bad his putting numbers were last year, and that includes putting unbelievable at the PGA.
He's 4th in the rankings, and he's 33-1. That's a ridiculous price. Fourth best golfer in the world, and he's 33-1. Yes, he's never played there before. How's he going to like it? That'll be a test for him, but it could be a benefit, and so it could be for Wolf as well. They don't know what it's like to play Augusta in April, or at least in the Masters. They may have played there as amateurs, I don't know, but I think that could benefit them, not knowing what it should be like. So they're just going in there blind and seeing what happens, which I quite like, to be honest.
Yeah, obviously you've got the first time that's never won here before. That's probably going to end at some point, but yeah, I would be avoiding Colin personally, but I'd definitely be looking at Webb, seriously looking at Webb. Finau, Hideki, Scott, Day, Tiger. Let's leave Tiger out. Finau, Hideki, Scott, Day. Favourite out of those 4. Least favourite out of those 4.
Well, probably Day right now. If you look what he's done this week at Texas, obviously one behind going to last round. Who knows what's going to happen tonight? But I think Day, and I think 35-1's a pretty good bet on him. But the only thing that concerns me is that blue WD there, and that's his back. So I always worry when I back him now. I love Day, he's probably one of my favourite golfers, but I just always concerned every time he swings at that driver and lashes at it that he's going to pull up with a back injury. Not great form as well. He's sort of come out of the blue in Texas this week, but he's going to a golf course where he does love it. He should have won there when I think Schwartzel won sort of a number of years ago. He really should have won that. I remember he threw that away big time. He's had a couple of good results there in the past. I think Day, 35-1's a pretty good bet. Look at Finau. I'd find it very hard to back Finau at 35 points. I know people say he's more likely to win a major or just got the same chance of winning a major as he has a PGA Tour event. I kind of disagree, if I'm honest. I just think he hasn't got it when it comes to Sunday. I saw him, what was it? There was a tournament earlier when it came back from lockdown where he was the only elite player there, really. He was joint leader going into the back nine, and I don't think he made a birdie or something on that back nine. The putter just went ice cold. So I just don't know whether he's got it at Masters back nine Sunday. I think he'll probably be there. He was always there. But back nine Sunday at the Masters. Do I back him to hold a 10-foot putt to go one clear with 2 to play? Absolutely not.
Yeah, T5 Tony.
Yeah.
I think Tony Finau top 10 is probably
each way, absolutely.
No, I wouldn't be better. I don't 35 to 1. Like his win equity is just shit. Like you're getting no value there. He's only won once before at the Puerto Rico Open, so
yeah,
as you always say, Kev. But yeah, top 10 is in both his recent Masters starts, and his form's good. His stats is really solid. His putting obviously slightly lets him down, but outside of that, he's a top class player. Hideki at 35s. Again, like I just haven't really. He hasn't won for since 2016 or 2017.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he came back and this was his return to the winner's circle in a Masters. His form is okay there. It's not great, but certainly not bad.
Yeah, it's like average though. Like if Hideki was playing really well, the Masters obviously he's played okay here.
Well, he had a good round yesterday in Texas, so he might be coming with a little bit of form. But what appears to me, this might not be spot on, but he seems to have 5 good holes and then chucking a double, and it's almost like a very similar version of Rory, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just you have 5 good holes and then you chuck it away in the next 2 or something, and suddenly you're taking 5 steps forwards and gone 4 steps back. So I'd be avoiding Finau. Hideki.
Scott's now 50 to 1, by the way.
Scott. Now 50 to 1. I mean, I've got to say, I didn't watch him, but I was following sort of the PGA Tour app last night. He looked like he couldn't hit a fairway to save his life. So.
His driving actually is really bad. Like his
you do need to be a good driver. I don't believe you have to be the longest driver to get around Augusta, but you certainly have to find the fairways. You can't be playing from the pine needles every time. And by the looks of things yesterday, Scott, it's like a rattlesnake in his hands when he's got that driver. So I'd be leaving it at 50s. I'd be leaving it at 35s. I wouldn't be touching him at all.
Yeah, I feel like 50. He was 45 at the start of the week, then start of this week. And then he obviously was in contention. He was in the top 10 before yesterday's round. He shot 74 yesterday. So he went down from, I think, 45 at the start of the week to 35. And now he's back up to 50.
Yeah.
That 50 to 1, if we ignore the 35 to 1 here, the 50 to 1 would tempt me for sure. Just because of what he's done here before.
I wouldn't be backing that at 50. I mean, you say what he's done there before. He's won once. It's not been like he's come in the top 5 every year for the last 5 years. He's won once.
Top 10, top 20. And his form's just solid. Like Cantlay before he won, his form is solid. Like I think that happens quite a lot when people are sort of there or thereabouts. They're not maybe getting top 10s. They're not maybe in contention, but they're making cuts. They're in the top 30, top 40, and then they just have 1 week where the putter's hot, for example, or in Scott's case, they hit a load of fairways.
Yeah, I mean,
and so the 50s would tempt me. I'm not saying I'm going to bet it, but the 50s would definitely tempt me.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the driver is usually almost one of his strengths.
He hits it miles.
I mean, if he sorts that driver out going to Augusta, he gains, I think it was 3 shots in the field yesterday putting. So it's usually the putter that lets him down. But I just wouldn't be backing him the way he was driving the ball yesterday, whether you can reverse that. It'd be one I keep an eye on play at 50s if he starts well and the driver looks to have sorted itself out, then certainly if you could get maybe 30s and he was 3 under 3.9 or something like that, I mean, I think that's probably is something I'd be backing them. But right now at 50, the way he was playing yesterday, I believe in that.
Yeah, he actually putted all right yesterday, despite shooting a 74, which is a bit worrying. Yeah, oh my days, he lost 4 shots off the tee yesterday. Fucking hell. Tiger. Auto back, Kev. Tiger and Brooks.
I mean, I will be wasting some money on Tiger, and it is wasting money, I think. 35 to 1. It's not the worst price on him. I think if this was in April, I'd actually be fancying his chances. I don't think he's playing as bad as his form suggests. I just think he hasn't played enough, and I think that was probably an issue going into this week. I think that the golf course is not going to play, as I've said, it's not going to be ultra long. But Tiger isn't as long as any of the guys we've really talked about today. If we're honest, right now, I think his strength is with his irons still. But he is Tiger though, so you don't know. But 35 to 1, I will be backing it because it is Tiger, and I don't like not to be on him if he wins. But I think he'll be probably missing the cut this week, if I'm honest. But there's nothing to suggest that he's going to be challenging come Sunday.
Yeah. As I said to you a couple of weeks ago, I'm scared that we've seen sort of the return of Tiger, and it's over now, unfortunately.
As well, I do agree. I was very much a believer when he came back. I'm a massive Tiger fan, but I'd always believed when he came back, he looked like he was trending. He was getting results in PGA Tour events. He looked like he was going to win. Obviously, then won at the Tour Championship, and you just felt that he was going to win a major. He was coming. I think he pushed Brooks the whole way at that PGA Championship, which was unbelievable. It wasn't on Sky. It wasn't on really any TV. I remember watching on a dodgy link, but I was whatever. I think they moved. I don't know what company they moved it to. Yeah. It was probably one of the iconic sort of back nines, sort of recent major golf, to be honest. And if he'd won that, being one of his best ever sort of major achievements. And it was coming. The Masters was coming. Then obviously won at the Zozo, and he looked good. And you thought, here we go, he's going to win a few more. But recently he has looked tired. He's looked
old.
Like the back is. Yeah, he's looked old a little bit. He's looked like the back is causing him more problems than it was before, which is fair enough. I mean, the guy's had God knows how many surgeries on his back, but I hope it's not. But I fear that we might have seen the end of Tiger, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong. But
same. Right, 2 players to round us off. Wolf, Fleetwood. In my opinion, I don't think I'd be betting either of these 2. I would have liked to have bet Wolf, but then the last couple of weeks he's really not played that well. And again, first timers don't win here. So at 40 to 1, I'll be avoiding that. Fleetwood, pretty similar. I was thought he had a good European tour a couple of weeks, and then he came back to the US.
English Finau is what I like to call him. The English Finau. Fleetwood.
Yeah, I like Tommy, but he hasn't played too well the last couple of weeks. And look at that approach stat for Tommy. That really surprises me. In my head, Tommy Fleetwood's he's a ball striking guy.
Yeah, Tommy, I think everything that sums Tommy. He's a great player. He's a great European Tour player. He will win in the States, definitely. He's too good not to. But when it comes to the major, was it USPGA? His price just never suggests the sort of player he is. I think he was favourite going into the weekend in the USPGA, and he was joint leader. And then DJ, there was Brooks, and there was all sorts lined up behind him. He's not in that category for me. 45 to 1 is not the worst price in the world. And I think he's one of those. He'll probably be there. But if you're looking to back someone to win, I wouldn't be backing him each way. Maybe top 5, top 10, maybe. But to win, I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if he won.
Yeah. The only thing with Fleetwood is that if it is raining and it is a bit colder, that might suit him because he's just. I mean, he played well in Scotland where it was absolutely pissing down.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
So that could potentially suit him. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bet him because of that. Right, Kev, let's go through some of the outsiders that we fancy. Let's just knock them off quickly. People are probably asleep by now, so yeah, let's do this quick. I'll go first. I will go first with Scotty Scheffler, in good form. Played well last week on the way back from COVID. Ball striking's really good. Hits it a long way. And I just think he's a major championship player. Played well at the PGA.
Yeah,
I think he's good bet at 66-1.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Obviously, showed his major pedigree at the PGA, went close. Debuting at the Masters, as I've mentioned before. I think this year, I think that could be helpful. It probably goes against my picks in terms of I've gone a little more of the experience side of things. But yeah, I think Scheffler's definitely a major champion. I think he's got that potential. My first sort of outsider, I mean, the name's not really an outsider in Justin Rose. He's obviously got a great record at Augusta. He's finished, outside the top 25 only 3 times in his career. He's played there around sort of 15 times as well. So he's got a really good record, and 66-1 on a major champion, and someone like Justin Rose, I think, is too good a price to pass up, in my opinion. Yeah,
he played well at the PGA, and that was on the back of 3 missed cuts. But he's made 3 cuts his most recent 3 starts. So he's definitely playing a bit better than he was before the PGA, and he's got great form at the Masters. So yeah, I think that's a good pick. My second one will be Jason Kokorak, who is also playing some really good golf, but another debutant. Coming off a win at the CJ Cup, where he beat Xander Schauffele in the last round. He's been playing like the best golf of his career. Slightly worries me that his first visit to the Masters is this year, but he hits it miles, and I think Augusta will set up pretty well for him, and he's putting really well at the moment. So yeah, Jason Kokorak at 71, 80-1, 70-1, 80-1. I think. I don't think I'd take him at 70-1. Would definitely be considered for me.
The cock.
The Jason Kokorak, yeah.
The cock putting on the green jacket. My final one would be Westwood, to be honest. I don't think he's going to win. I think he'll probably get you in each way. It's what he tends to do at the Masters. He's had a second, he's had a third, he's had a 7th, he's had an 8th. He finishes in the top 10 nearly every time he plays there. He's finished outside the top 20 twice since 2008 at Augusta, which is a really impressive record, and 110-1 on that caliber of player. I don't think he's going to win his first major here, but I think each way, I think that 110-1, if you can get 10 places, is a very good price.
Yeah, I think we tipped him at 225 for the US Open, so the price is almost half now because he's been playing really well on the back of that, where he missed out on a place by 1 stroke, which was annoying. But yeah, I do just worry that he played poorly last week. I do just worry that he's on the downward curve now after that good form. But he's got good form here, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him there or thereabouts on Sunday. Any other names that you want to mention? Big prices? Just mention.
I think that's about it for me, to be honest. On terms of the prices, I think Stenson 200-1. I think Ricky Fowler 71 at 2 pretty big prices. Mark Leishman as well, 175-1. There are some standouts. I wouldn't be tipping them, I wouldn't be backing them, but in terms of prices that are bigger than you'd expect, I think those 3 stand out quite a lot.
Yeah, some of the old veterans at bigger prices could be a good shout, with Masters form being so important recently. A couple more debutants for me: Sebastian Munoz and Eric Van Rooyen, both playing really well at the moment. So wouldn't be surprised that if they continue that this week.
Mm-hmm.
Any more, Kev?
No, that's all for me, I think.
Lovely. So I hope if anyone's watching this, you enjoyed our video. Maybe we'll do some more of these, but yeah, we'll get our tips out on Wednesday. Follow us on Twitter at the Birdie Train. and this is going to be on YouTube. So give us a like, and hopefully
subscribe.
Yeah, give us a like and subscribe.